We're live. Hello. I'm here this afternoon with Emily Drabble.
Hello, Catherine.
Hi, Emily. I'm Catherine Miller. This is Lockdown Children's Lit Fest, and I've been lucky enough to reach out to lots of lovely authors and book people this lockdown and do this wonderful series. So today we've got Emily, who isn't a children's author, but actually, maybe you might enlighten us on that. Well, I'll let you tell us your story. Would you like to give us a bit of a background about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Emily Drabble, and I'm the head of children's books promotion and prizes, very long title, at BookTrust, which is the UK's largest reading charity, specialising in reading for pleasure. It's an amazing place to work. I've been there for 3 years. It's incredible to be surrounded by so many people who know so much about books and love books and want to give children books. We give 3.9 million children books every year. We reach them with books and resources every year in various different ways through our lots of book gifting for the under fives, which is really brilliant. BookTrust Baby and BookTrust Treasure and Time to Read, where every kid in reception age gets a book. So it's really amazing because it means the whole country get the same book. So everyone actually has like a book they've all read or at least all been given. They might not remember that a few years later because they were only 4. They have actually all read the same book.
Well, I've actually had conversations. Well, I've actually overheard my youngest daughter, who had a friend over to play, and they were talking about the book, and it was Kitchen Disco.
Oh, I love that.
Fantastic book. Yeah, and they both said, "Oh, I got that as a baby," and they totally remembered it, and it was a really special book for them both.
Yeah, so lovely. Yeah. BookTrust is just an amazing place. I love BookTrust.
Yeah, it is a truly wonderful thing, that you do. So thank you for all your hard work there. So how did you get into that? What are your reading memories as a child? If we go back a little bit.
I'll go right back to when I was a child. Well, funny enough, although my mum is a big reader, but we never had any books in our house. By the same token, I think we just had the Bible and about a few books, and I'm going to show you some of them now, because she always went to the library. Okay. So in fact, it was odd because she's a real bookworm, but it was reading's very private for her, and that was her going into other worlds. She never actually spoke about it, or particularly, I didn't really know what she was reading. But then I became I was a real bookworm as a child, and we were just talking about this a bit earlier, weren't we, Catherine? This amazing. I hope everyone who's listening may have heard of this book, but if not, if you love books, you should get this book, Lucy Mengen's Bookworm. And it was just it was fascinating to read it and think about the books that I had been that had formed me.
Yes.
Who I am. And I started thinking about this book and I'm going to show it now. This is a book I was absolutely obsessed by, and I don't know if people know, it's the Ginny at Finbury series, Patricia Leach. These are amazing books. I was obsessed by these books when I was like 10 or 11, and I read all of them. And then I'd never read them again as an adult. After reading Bookworm, where Lucy goes through all of her childhood reading, I reread the book, and I was absolutely astonished to find that I've been so influenced by Ginny, so influenced by this book. And I always thought there's some very puzzling things about me. For example, that I'm a vegetarian when no one was a vegetarian. My family, like working class London family, that's like completely ridiculous to be vegetarian. They're just furious, still furious about it now, actually, but they were very and Ginny, I discovered this woman, Patricia Leach, is like a hardcore vegetarian. I mean, I think she's dead now. These books are written in like the 60s, 70s. And that obviously there's a lovely guy in this book who's a vegetarian. I was obviously in love with him. That's why I became a vegetarian. There's this undercurrent of kind of slightly pagan spirituality running through the whole book, which obviously really inspired me. And the fact that I don't know, like no one in my family had ever been to uni, but there were people in this book, even though it's kind of like a working class family, really. There's people that did go to university. I just feel like it just did a lot for me, this book. And it was interesting to reread. And I would definitely say to people, it's good to reread the books you read when you were a child, because it's that kind of like, you know, books make you, don't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's it. You know, this is exactly the conversation that I had with SF Said when I interviewed him as part of this series. We were talking about Ursula Le Guin, who was a big inspiration for him, and I just adored the Ursi trilogy as an early teenager, sort of same age that you're talking about. So much so, the last few months it's been calling to me to read it, and I haven't reread it for about 20 years. And I've been afraid to, because I was worried it wouldn't stand up to anyway. I've reread it all in about a weekend. Absolutely love it. And like you, I was reading it thinking, oh, that's why I love words. That's why I went to study languages at university. This is where that part of me comes from.
I mean, it's an amazing thing for authors now to think about that you're going into someone's head. Great responsibility. I also think one of the few books we had lying around was Little House on the Prairie. We had a few classics, and What Katie Did, and the Katie books.
Yeah.
So I did see those and I read those, and their books I've reread. I think they really, my whole sensibility is to do with, apart from the kind of like weird racism, you know, but that's all the time, is Little House on the Prairie, you know, my love of quilts and wholesome things, is maple syrup. You know, I don't know, these books, well, they really, the Little House books, they really stand the test of time. They are just brilliant to read still. That fairness of the language of the American vernacular just seems to, you know, whereas actually some classics, written by British writers, can seem very hard work now to a lot of kids, I think. Very long sentences, etc. But Little House, I love Little House books.
I love that. And What Katie Did, I always wanted to end up in a wheelchair because of
maybe that will happen.
Maybe.
yeah, I know, it's amazing. Amazing. And I love Jacqueline Wilson's retelling, Katie.
I haven't read that.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's so good. It's very, very, very brilliant book. Well, Jackie's always a fantastic author.
Oh, well, I'll write that down and read that. Thank you. We've got a hello from Ava and Esme. Can you say hello to them, please?
Hello, Ava and Esme. How are you?
So if you've got any questions, any recommendations, Emily is the fount of all knowledge when it comes to books. So please just ask any questions. So you obviously had those books you loved. Was there one particular book that got you into being a reader, do you think? Or
well, I really remember learning how to read. I can actually remember the moment I learned how to read. I don't remember what I was reading, and I think it was just one of those, you know, boring learn to read kind of books. But I was really young, and I don't have a good memory for my childhood in general, because I think it was very a kind of like uneventful, really nice but uneventful childhood. I didn't have any trauma. I don't really remember anything, but I do remember learning how to read. I remember suddenly looking at the book and going, "Oh, I can read," you know, and it just like seemed to happen in an instant. And then from then on, I just read everything. So I think I was one of those kids who just read absolutely everything and anything I could get my hands on, really. And sadly, I don't remember having a school library. I just didn't think we seemed to have one. If we did, we weren't really allowed in it. So I just think I've read the kind of kid who just always reading something. But I used to read a lot when I was a teenager. I used to read a lot of quite unsuitable books, actually. Like I'm a bit old. It's kind of pre-YA, so I was always reading, I don't know, like Stephen King and James Herbert. James Herbert's really gruesome. I used to read gruesome things, and Virginia Andrews' Flowers in the Attic and all those books when I was a teenager. Well, they're not suitable.
No, I read all those as well. And I think that pre-internet, it was kind of like how you found your naughtiness.
Yeah, exactly. It's a kind of like a bit random. And I so often have read books. I did read a little bit of Judy Blume, but I never found out how many books she'd written. I was amazed when I became an adult and knew about children's books. Wow, those books I missed out on. That would really help my life a lot if I'd read that.
Or that Nancy Drew, I thought that she'd only written one book.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing. That's what you happen to get, and then you just think, oh, that's it. She just wrote, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret," and
yeah,
all those other ones I missed. So I've been catching up a lot, actually.
oh, brilliant!
But now I only read children's books, and when I was a child, I only read adult books.
Yeah, well, you've got that out of the way, haven't you? You've done that.
Yeah.
Right, Janie is saying hi. Great chat. Hi,
Hello.
Janie. So then you worked for the fabulous, I think this was one of my favorite websites for children's books, the Guardian Children's Books website. Do you want to talk to us about that?
Oh, it was just so wonderful, and it is sad that it doesn't exist anymore. You've got the Guardian card. I had one of those. I broke it.
Oh, no.
It was amazing. On the Guardian, Guardian still really champions children's books, and for many years, ran its wonderful Guardian Children's Fiction Prize, which I was really involved in. And Julia Eccleshare is the children. She still writes for the Guardian, but it was a children's books editor. So I edited with a lovely woman called Michelle Pawley the Guardian Children's Books website. So that was an amazing. Were you part of it, Catherine? Were you?
My class, we wrote some reviews.
Okay, what was your nickname? Do you remember? Because everyone had a nickname.
Sorry.
Anyway, we had loads of members, which were, some of them were groups like yours, and then there were lots of individual family members, and lots of children and teenagers will write reviews. So that was part of it, and then it was just an amazing site for authors and illustrators to write blogs, share extracts of their books, and just it kind of like whipped up into this amazing community. And prior to that, I had worked at the Guardian for many years as a journalist, and I'd always specialised in writing, especially in writing news for children and interviewing a lot of teachers, because I worked for the Guardian Teacher Network and the education section, which used to be a massive, great big paper section of G2 of the Guardian supplement. So that's where I started my career, and that's back in 1994 that I started at the Guardian. So it was a really long time. I worked there for so long. But then 3 years ago, that due to kind of like some changes at the Guardian, the Guardian Children's website, even though it was very popular, was kind of stopped. It still exists. I'm always finding amazing articles that are on my website.
Yeah.
I'm always coming across them when I Google things, but there's nothing. No, the new stuff isn't added to the website as a community. But still, the Guardian do loads of things on children's books.
Absolutely, and it is absolutely still a brilliant resource for if you're looking for different books and things. So
yes,
go and check it out.
So, but the BookTrust website, of course, is I've tried to bring and help bring a kind of flavour of Guardian Children's Book site to BookTrust since I've been there, and I work with, we're an amazing. Our digital team's a really amazing team full of very talented people, and so we've got a lovely website with it's. Shall I give the URL?
Yeah. I'll, if you share it with me at the end, I'll put it on the Facebook group. Yeah.
So there's loads of reviews and loads of great content by authors and illustrators on the BookTrust website. The BookTrust website is a brilliant resource for parents looking for recommendations on books.
Absolutely, and I really love how you've adapted to lockdown with your Home Time series.
Yes. I love Home Time. Shall I tell you a bit about it?
Well, please do. Yeah.
It's really fun. So it was launched just as soon as we went into lockdown. It was launched. We launched it. It was launched by Cressida Cowell, our amazing Waterstones Children's Laureate as well. And as people may know, Cressida has been reading chapters of what she's been reading through How to Train Your Dragon from her shed, reading a chapter every night. And that's just been amazing. So you feel like you're just hanging out with Cressida in her shed as she reads you a good night story. I love it. I've been listening to it. It's just brilliant.
And your interview with her was fab.
Yeah, and then we've had loads of other authors and illustrators being so wonderful and making videos for us. How to, for example, how to draw videos, story time videos. We have a illustrator in residence, Ed Veer.
I love Ed Veer. I didn't interview him, no. I did meet him once at a Reading for Pleasure conference at the Guardian. and just within awe of his work. He's just a
He is
phenomenal man.
amazing. And every week he is doing a how to draw lesson with us. Tomorrow it's how to draw real lions. So I would advise people to go into booktrust.org.uk/home time and draw real lions with Ed. He actually met real lions. He went to Africa and met real lions with the Born Free Foundation, who he's done a lot of work with.
Wow.
As you know, people may know he's got his wonderful How to Be a Lion with Leonard the Lion, and who is obviously based on a real lion, but he's an unreal lion. But this is about drawing real ones. But you can find loads of lessons from Ed and Rob Biddulph. Rob Biddulph's doing his record breaker today at 4.
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll be joining in with that. I was gonna shout out to that at the end today. So
yeah, I'm going to be doing that as well. So we have lots of brilliant authors reading out their stories, and it's just such. I feel like I'm so grateful to publishers that kind of lifted their commissions process for the period of lockdown. Most of them have lifted until I think the end of September, so people can actually read their books out loud. Because obviously there's all kind of complicated rights really about reading even your own book out loud. You have to get permission for it.
I know. Well, we looked into that because we thought about I've got a Facebook group called Bringing Up Book Lovers, which is aimed at helping parents to promote a love of reading, and we thought it would be lovely for older members of family to read online stories to young children, just as a kind of story time, and that was one of the issues we looked into. And it would have been fine, but just it was a little bit too tricky with the tech aspect.
Yeah, I do love that idea of siblings reading to young siblings in school and at home. I don't think anyone ever read to me. I don't think anyone ever really read to me, actually. I just seem to read to myself. But I carried on reading to my kids for a really long time.
So how did you? Well, actually, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I've got a teenager in the house who actually has got back into reading. Yay! But for a while she didn't. So how did you encourage it? Have you got tips for engaging teenagers in reading?
Well, I think that I think actually letting teenagers have their own choice is really important. And it's actually something Michael Rosen actually gave me this advice. I actually spoke to him about it. Because the thing is, if you have a lot of books, and you know a lot about children's books, that's really great when your children are younger, because they lap it up, they love you and think you're just really cool. Why won't they want to read the book that you suggested? And you're to them anyway. But once your kids get to be teenagers, they don't necessarily want to read. I realised that I was becoming quite an annoying person, saying you must read this. This is brilliant. Read this, and then they'd be like, no. So I realised that, and Mike Rosen said, it's the choice. It's the browsing and the choosing and then the reading. That process. That's why libraries are so important.
Yeah.
You don't have a chance to choose your own books. It can be a problem, even for real massive big readers in their middle grade years.
Yeah.
And
I think that actually stands for younger children who aren't switched on to reading as well. And because quite often you will hear parents or teachers, heaven forbid, say, oh no, that you shouldn't be reading that, that's too easy for you, or that's not appropriate, or whatever. Whereas so children then become switched off and think, well, I don't like reading because I'm not allowed to read that and everything else is boring. Whereas if you're encouraged that, you could read the fishing manual or you could read the Argos catalogue, whatever gets you into reading, and just allow them to have that choice, then that's really important.
It's got to be personal. And I'm really happy that graphic novels and comics used to be much maligned, didn't they? When I was at school, you wouldn't have been encouraged to read them. But now I don't think that's true anymore.
No.
That people have realised I've got all my books in this room where I am now. I've got loads of graphic novels up there. I was just thinking about, I did sort some books out here. I've got millions of books here in case you asked me about things. Oh, I know. I was going to say a book that kind of like is a great book to get into graphic novels for younger kids is our Posy Simmonds books. Do you know those?
No, I don't.
Oh, I love Posy Simmonds so much, and this is a book called Fred, and it's the story of this cat. But it's basically a graphic. I mean, she is a graphic novelist for adults as well. Actually,
Okay.
she's written a lot of graphic novels, and I just love this book. Oh my God, I love this book. My son is actually called Fred, so I think that's why I bought it, because I bought it before I knew about children's books.
Okay.
I mean, when I started at The Guardian, children's books haven't always been my field of expertise. That happened to me as a parent, actually. You know, so when I had my kids, who are now 18 and 14, that's when I got back, after being a big reader myself, then I got back into children's books through reading to my own kids, and realised that there's nothing actually nicer than reading to your children. Nothing easier, and it's that shared language that you have, even when you stop reading to your kids when they get too old, which they do eventually. I think I read to my son until he was 14 or 15, which is probably pushing it a bit, to be honest. My daughter didn't allow me to read to her for so long, but we still talk about those books. We all do. Having like a shared language of books is really beautiful. The last book I ever read to my son Fred was SF Said's Phoenix.
Oh, that is an absolute joy to read.
Joy, and SF Said, I know you've had on your the Varjak-Poor and Outlaw Varjak-Poor. They're like some of the best books to read out loud, I think.
Absolutely.
It takes a long time to write his books, but that's why, because everything's perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah,
absolutely, not a word out of place. And I love the poem that runs through Phoenix. It takes you a little while to realise what it is that he's doing, but then when you do, just stunning.
Yeah, so stunning. I was looking through my books and just thinking about the ones that I loved reading to my children.
That would be wonderful if you would share those. I'm going to write a list of them, and then I'll share them in the Facebook group.
One of them I really loved. I loved this book so much. Is John Birmingham's Hushabye.
Can you hold that a bit closer? Sorry, I can't see it.
Closer.
Hushabye. Oh,
but the amazing! I mean, I love John Birmingham, and I was so happy because he won with his in addition to his wife Helen Oxenbury, the BookTrust Lifetime Achievement Award 2 years ago. I got to meet him and interview him, and oh my goodness, he's amazing. But this book, if people know it, this is something that I don't. He then much later he then made it into this little storybook, which actually sings a little, like a little reading
music
book. And that would just make you cry to read. You would just fall asleep immediately if you start reading this book. One thing I really love about lockdown, and I wonder if other people are experiencing this as well, is that because you can't get out, you're kind of like I keep sorting out my books, and I wonder if other people are doing that.
It definitely is.
And then realise it's that thing that Ed Veer talks a lot about, and CLP talk a lot about, is the power of pictures, and how, you were saying that kids are sometimes told that's too young for you, or that's not right for you using a book, and the way lots of children may feel encouraged to move away from picture books too early, actually.
Yes, yeah.
Because they can read middle grade books. There's so much going to be found in those picture books, and so rereading picture books is a joy, because there's so much in them. I think of some books like, did you read?
Oh yes.
I mean, I probably read this book 100 million times. I'm exaggerating, but every single night with my kids.
And you thought, no, actually, it was definitely more than 100.
Yeah, 100 million. And I just, what a joy this book is. Look at them. I love that book. I've read it so many times, and then I don't know if anyone ever finds that they have sometimes. Oh, I had a funny book here. I've lost it now. Oh, this is a great book. What about? Which has a light. I think this book's very well used. It has a light at the end, but I think that doesn't work anymore. But that is the flash. Oh, that's just a beautiful, beautiful book.
All of the Kipper books are.
What about Oh Dear? I love Oh Dear. These are some of my favourites. I'm just being so indulgent now, just going through my favourite books.
Please, it's lovely.
And I used to love reading this to my kids, and I'm just so excited. I find it such a thrill to actually meet and know the authors that have basically come to bed with me every night with my kids. I feel like, I feel like they are. I love them because they are like part of my children's childhood. I want everyone who can to have that, and everyone can actually have that.
Absolutely, there's no reason why you can't. How to Train Your Dragon books were my youngest daughter's gateway into longer books, and she just was an avid reader of those.
Yeah, it's amazing when you get your teeth into a series and because you want more. We have this great series at BookTrust on the BookTrust website called What to Read Next. What to read after. What to read after. Sorry, not what to read next. And so we take books, books that kids get so hooked on, like How the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or Tom Waits, the books, and How to Train Your Dragon. And then what could you move on to? Because sometimes you can get a bit like, I only read Harry Potter. Now I've read it. Nothing else to read. I've stopped reading now.
Yeah.
What can you move on to? It's quite interesting.
Oh, show us some more books.
I'll say some more.
I'm curious.
I love Bernard. That's very controversial. Is he the monster? Or that's a brilliant thrilling book. I'm a massive fan of Satoshi Kitamura.
I've not come across him.
And that is just a brilliant book. It's like a body swap book. He becomes his cat becomes him. That is absolutely hilarious and brilliant. And Satoshi Kitamura is he's just a genius. That's the kind of book as well. It's a children's picture book, but that is a very suitable book for a 7 and 8 year old. People might think it's not only suitable for 3. In fact, it's more suitable for an older child in some ways. And I think a lot of books are like that when you go back to them. I know you had Emily Gravitz. You had Emily, didn't you? And
Emily.
Quite a sophisticated book, I think, as well. Although it does work for younger children as well. I love all the little bits that you can pull out and everything as well.
Her website is really stunning as well. Oh, you've got a butterfly, I think.
I actually think it's a fly.
Oh.
I'm going to ignore it. It's annoying. It's really annoying me, actually. Oh, I love Jan Pinkowski egg books, and I was so lucky to get to hang out with him because he also won the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Do you choose?
Right. Just choose one. No, we have a big selection now. But they're I mean, it's amazing. When you think that people have been around for a long time, constant creating amazing books that inform people's childhood and their whole identity. I mean, to me, children's books are the most important books.
I think so, absolutely.
And I mainly read children's books now, and I don't think it does me any harm.
No, I think that there's real skill in writing a book that tackles a really difficult topic that is able to be explained in a way that a child can understand and increase their understanding of the world.
Absolutely. I feel
Have
like
there been times with your children when you've reached for a book to help explain something in particular, or you thought, oh, this will help me at this stage?
Definitely. I think one of the big ones, I haven't got it down here, but it's down there, is Michael Rosen's Sad Book, which is the most amazing book to read if you're any kind of bereavement, which could include, I mean, it's even important to read if you have a gerbil that dies, it could be profound loss, or actually all loss is profound to children. It is actually profound if your gerbil dies. That's a book that I definitely read.
I think that would be a really great book to read now, because they're our children are going through a loss. They're not able to see their friends and their normal lives.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I think now is just it feels like reading is more necessary than ever. Stories are more necessary than ever.
Yeah.
And I just feel so grateful that we've got so many books, and I just feel I'm so desperate for libraries to be able to reopen, so people who don't have loads of books at home. When I was a kid, that would have been my situation, because we didn't have any books at home.
Yeah.
How many times you want to read the Bible, you know? For me, anyway. And so I just can't wait for libraries to be able to open, so people can access books.
There were wonderful stories as schools were going into lockdown where teachers were saying on Twitter, empty your school library bookshelves. It doesn't matter if these books don't ever come back to school, but it does matter that our children can read during lockdown. So I think teachers have done really, really admirable, sterling jobs.
Yeah, really beautiful. BookTrust has been giving lots of books, doing lots of book gifting through food banks as well.
And you're fundraising, aren't you, at the moment?
Sorry, we're what?
Are you fundraising at the moment?
We're fundraising. We're always fundraising, BookTrust. Yeah, we are. But because we've always got more books to get to the children that need books, and all children need books.
Absolutely. So please do donate if you're watching and are able to.
Just go on the website. Yeah, it will tell you how.
We've got a lovely question here from, and I'm going to say this wrong, it looks a beautiful name, Viorica Buica. What a beautiful name, I'm sorry. Hi, it would be great if you could share your thoughts on the role of public libraries.
Oh, well, public libraries are just integral to everything. I mean, I just think it's like the cornerstone of a civilized society is public libraries. If people can't access books and all the other services that the public libraries provide, then it's going to. If I hadn't had a library, I would never have gone to. Definitely wouldn't have gone to university, and I definitely wouldn't have this job now. And I can't. I just will be a completely different person. And I think that's when I go to the my public libraries, which are in Peckham and East Dulwich, I just see loads of kids doing their homework, getting books out. And you can just, I can, you know, loads of those kids won't have books at home. That's where all the books are. That's where all the knowledge is. And if you can't access the books, how can you? If you can't access knowledge, then you're stuck.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We're in, my local library is in an absolutely beautiful Victorian red brick building in Darlington, and it was under threat of closure, but it has been saved. Thank the Lord. It was written in the deeds by the Pease family who built the building, that it had to be for public use and forevermore. So, you know, if they hadn't have done that, then it possibly would have gone the way that so many lovely public libraries have gone. So keep supporting your local libraries. They are absolutely crucial.
And and I can't wait for them to go back. Actually, at BookTrust, we run the BookTrust Storytime Prize, which is a brilliant prize. Do go on the website and have a look at the shortlisted books, because they're amazing. And then we've got videos of all the authors and illustrators reading the books out as well, which is really fantastic. But we run that with public libraries. So we work with Youth Library Group and CILIP to judge the award, working with, firstly we have all librarians as our judges to choose the 6, and it's just a joy to work with some amazing librarians, including Jake Hope.
So knowledgeable.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And then our regional judging happens over the summer, and we have librarians across the whole of the UK, apart from Scotland actually, because we've got the Scottish Book Trust in Scotland, and that they'll be reading to families, and it's really interesting to see the kind of work that librarians are doing to reach families that they would normally read to doing virtual story time.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, because we have, I don't know if people know about Rhyme Time, which happens in public libraries connected with BookTrust, and I've just heard today from one of my colleagues that some virtual Rhyme Time sessions have now got 300, 400 people watching them. Obviously, normally they have about 20 or so. You know? But
Rhyme Time, as a new mum, I every day had to have something to get me out of the house, because I would have just gone insane. And Rhyme Time was one of my really special moments of the week.
The role of the public library when you've got young children is just
crucial.
Crucial.
And I'm actually, the support network that I made through going there, I'm still friends with those women. and families. 15 years later, we go on holiday together, our children have grown up together, and I wouldn't have coped without that support network.
Yeah,
It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience.
definitely. And you just think, if that's taken away, it's like
Mm,
ripping the rug from under people's feet, really. I
yeah,
feel that's how, and I'm so grateful not to have really little children now.
yes,
And I just, my heart goes out to people. It must be so hard to be at home with little kids. But
absolutely.
books will are very entertaining.
I had a wonderful interview with the author Lucy Reynolds on Sunday, who's written some beautiful books. And she said that one of the things that's getting her through, she's in lockdown with a 3-year-old, is at the end of the day, her friends and her, they're all sharing story time. So she said it's a really lovely wind down time, and the children are all getting that social bonding time. They're all connecting through a book. They're getting to see different books. They're not bored of their
Are they
own
doing
book.
it on Zoom or doing it
So
on? Are they
they're
doing?
doing, I presume so, something like that. It's just a closed, group of friends.
That's lovely. And what, each one takes turn to read a book out to everyone?
Yes.
That's a lovely idea.
Isn't that
Great.
wonderful?
I've also heard stories of like grandparents reading to their grandchildren on the
Mm,
phone, or on the
yes,
on Zoom, which is so lovely. That sharing stories, there's nothing more. It's just the most comforting thing, isn't it?
absolutely. And it's just a fundamental human need, isn't it, to have that connection.
Absolutely.
Your dog waking up.
Yeah, I was just going to get the. Oh, I know what I'm going to show you. Sometimes you might have books that no one's ever heard of. No one's ever heard of this book, and it's just like a weird novelty book. But I have just read that so many times, and it sticks. I love books that sounds like that, and I think that's funny. Like, if I look at that book, which would mean nothing to so many people, that just brings back so much memories about my children. Makes me feel so nostalgic, and can't wait to have grandchildren.
I love that there are probably teeth marks around the edge of it.
Yeah.
We've definitely got books like that were used to break teeth on.
Yes. Oh, I know another book I'd really like to show you. Just thinking about picture books for older children. Have you come across this book?
No, I haven't. Oh, I love William Grill. I love this Shackleton book.
The Shackleton book's lovely, but I like this one even more because I love the story, which is on. It's about a wolf pack and the man hired to trap their leader. It's all set in New Mexico, and look at the drawings. Oh my goodness! Trouble is with this it's a very heartbreaking book.
Mm.
It's really upsetting. It makes you really cry, but it's very, look at that. That book is that's just such a work of art. I love it. It's so lovely. I love that book. That's one of my favourite new books. Well, it's not that new, actually. It's been around for a while. Can I also show you, this is one of my favourite books. Not from my children's time, but from now. Do you know this book, Catherine?
No, I don't know.
This book, I Am Bear, by Ben Bailey Smith, who's also the rapper Doc Brown. Do you know him?
Right.
Maybe from YouTube. And he's actually he's a TV actor as well, but he's a rapper and an author. And then Sav Ukyas, the illustrator. Look how fun this book is. A lot of fun. It's very kind of like graphic-y, cartoony, but it's all. Sadly, I can't really do it justice. I'm holding it up very weirdly here, but it's basically the funnest book to read out loud. Look at the attitude of this, and it's just great. I think it's so good. I feel very excited about the books that are being published at the moment.
We are living in such a golden age, aren't we?
We are in a pure golden age, and I just feel like, whereas once there were no books, really, hardly any books. Here's an example of one of them, Amazing Grace. Hardly any books that reflected the lives of anyone of colour. Now there are actually lots. It's partly to do with publishers are just embracing diversity, and I hope that continues, even though publishers might be in some financial stress due to
Mhm.
this period. But I feel like it's just so exciting. I mean, let me just give you some examples. I'll give you a couple of examples of books that I really love. In fact, if anyone's really interested in representation, there's a very good section on BookTrust. I keep going on about BookTrust, but there's so much on that website. Yeah, it's book. If you go to booktrust.org.uk/represents, you'll find everything about this really, really interesting research that we did. We looked back at the last 11 years of publishing. This is last year we did it, and in conjunction with UCL, University College London, and we counted up the numbers of books by authors and illustrators of colour, particularly, and we counted up how many British authors and illustrators of colour there were, and there were only 2% over the last 11 years. It was really bad. There were a few more if you count Americans and people from who are actually from other countries, but actually homegrown British talent was minimal, and so we're like, but. We haven't got our new stats yet, but we will have them in the autumn. But I think they're going to be much improved from what I've seen coming through now, my actual real letterbox. Now books come straight to me. One of the books that I really love is Planet Omar. Have you seen these books by Zainab? Now, she firstly published her book. She published this book as The Muslims, first of all, and she kind of self-published it, really. She did it a bit with I can't remember the name of the organization, but she kind of self-published it, really. And then she won the Little Rebels Book Award.
Oh, brilliant.
And then she got picked up by Hachette, and they've made it into Planet Omar. Oh, it's so great. It's kind of like it's a bit like Tom Gates. It's highly illustrated. It's so funny, and also, just includes the mosque as a matter of course, and it's hilarious. I mean, when thinking of like my son's friends, he had quite a few Muslim friends from his school, and there was nothing for them to read. It's all white, and it's just really brilliant. Having like not issue books, but like just normal. It's just normal books.
Yeah. And it was really interesting hearing Candy Gourlay talking about this, because she grew up in the Philippines, and she grew up reading Enid Blyton.
Love the story. Candy Gourlay is an amazing writer. Yeah, I've had lots of talk to Candy when she was saying that she just didn't think you could be of colour. You had to be an author, and to be in a book, you would have to be white.
Yeah. And it was just like an alien. She said that the books that she was reading as a child, they might as well have been on the moon. It's just a completely alien experience to her.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I had that a bit by reading Mallory Towers, to be honest. As a working class girl who didn't go to public school, that seemed like it was very exotic. And I was quite astonished to meet people later in life who did not find that was almost their experience. Obviously, they would have been a bit younger, but it was quite astonishing to me, because I always thought it was like a fictional world. I know it was a fictional world, but I never really realised that you could go to boarding school. That would really exist.
Yeah. We've got a comment here from Esther. She's saying, "Hi, Esther. I just want to go and work at BookTrust with Emily. Her enthusiasm.
Oh, man, join me.
Her enthusiasm is just wonderful. I'm learning so much."
Oh, good. That's so nice. Thank you. I just want to show you. Where did I put it? Oh, my dog's on. There's my dog on it. Can't find it. But we have a lovely thing called the Great Books Guide at BookTrust. So every year we choose 100 books, the best books of the year, and so go look for that as well if you want more recommendations.
Brilliant. Will do.
Yeah, the books team at BookTrust. You would love to come and work with us, Esther. You would love it. They're a great group of people who spend all their life reading children's books, and we talk about children's books all the time. It's fab.
What a joy!
Such another great book.
Job.
Can I recommend that?
Yeah. I'm going to have to turn the page in my notebook.
This is so good. I can always type a big list up of all these books that I've been recommending. this is a brilliant author, Yasmin Abdel-Magid, and this is her first book. This is a book about just an amazing. It's actually set in Australia, but it feels very translatable to Britain, Australia to me, in a book or anyway. So it's about a Muslim girl who ends up going. She's the only girl in hijab at the private school she ends up going to, because she gets like a weird scholarship to go, and she's an amazing scientist, really funny. That's such a good book. You know, when you read a lot of books, some books are just so brilliant. I mean, not all books are brilliant, but some are just stand above.
Absolutely. I interviewed my local bookseller. He's just wonderful. So he's someone that I've met as a parent. I've gone into my local bookshop and said, you know, what can you recommend for my son? This is what he's reading at the moment. And he normally has this beard that comes down right down to his belly. He's just this really wonderful, wonderful man. Anyway, he's shaved his beard off, so his lockdown video was just his beard was very small. He said he promised it will be back by Christmas, by the time that they're open again.
Why did you do that?
He said that he'd just finished a book where he said, I don't think I'm going to be able to read for a week because I just need to stay in that world. I love that feeling when you just finish a book and you don't want anyone to speak.
Especially when you can't go out anyway.
Yeah.
Can I just talk a little bit about Anne Fine?
Oh yes, please do.
Now, Anne Fine was Children's Laureate. She was the second Children's Laureate, actually. And all the laureates wrote, this is a great book, which all the laureates, not Cressida, because it stopped at Lauren, because it was published just at the end of Lauren Child's laureateship. And that's a real great book for lockdown, actually, because it's got amazing activities by all the laureates, new activities, published by Walker. It's got a lovely intro by Michael Morpurgo. Oh, I love Michael Morpurgo. He's BookTrust president, actually.
Oh, is he?
Stuff for BookTrust, and I've got all of his books up there. I would just love to be able to I love working, but I would love just to be able to only read and reread. You know, the joy of rereading. And I always feel like I must read new books, but what I'd really love to do is just reread Running Wild and all the amazing Michael Morpurgo books. But Anne Fine, I love Anne Fine so much. And I just read her new book, which is not out until next March. So lucky. It's called Shades of Scarlet. Which is
that one.
Published by David Fickling, which is her first book with David Fickling Publishers. And it's not out until March, but you're going to go crazy for this book. But when I interviewed Anne about a year ago, and then I reread some of her books. Oh my God, she is so funny, and I just don't understand how she can get into teenagers' minds. I mean, I think that children's authors are just so amazing, aren't they? To be able to I don't know if you noticed, but any children's books authors that you interview, they usually have an amazing memory for their own childhood, like an astonishing. That's why I think I could never be a children's author apart from non-fiction, because I don't have that amazing memory. But I laugh. Nothing makes me laugh more than Anne Fine. And then in real life, she's actually really funny as well. What about The Tulip Touch? Have you ever read that?
No.
That is the most sinister and scary book. It's about a very weird girl called Tulip. I think it was written after the Jamie Bulger murders.
Oh, really?
And it's kind of a little bit connected to that. That's very dark. It's not that funny, that one, but so great.
I love that you can read a really scary book and you have that control, and it's not like watching something terrifying, because you know that actually if it's too horrible I can just close it. And
and she's a very responsible woman, so she doesn't leave. It's not like reading a Stephen King, which you'd be left quaking. You know, it is a book for young people, so it doesn't make you feel, by the end of it you're not really, you can keep your light off. What about Flower Babies?
Oh yes,
that is a great book to read with and then her books for younger children, like the Killer Cat books. That's great for middle grade. To me, Anne Fine is just peerless in how she can write. I'm always astonished by her writing. Takes my breath away.
I think that's such a compliment for an author.
Isn't it? Yeah. And I just want to say, I also want to big up Alex Wheatle for people with teens. You know, you're saying, how can you get your teenagers to read?
Mm.
I would say you couldn't go far wrong by giving them Alex Wheatle books. I mean,
is that Little Bit?
Little Bit. Yeah, it's about a boy called Little, who is very little. He's the second shortest guy in his year. He's in love with a really gorgeous girl. I mean, I think he's 13. It's all set in a fictional place, that's South Crompton, but that feels a bit like Croydon, you know, but it's, and Alex is kind of from Croydon. He's lived in Croydon and Brixton. It feels like quite Londony, but I'm sure that wherever you lived, maybe you're just, if you know, you could relate to it.
Yeah.
That is just a brilliant book about friendship and about growing up, and the kids all live on an estate. They're just normal kids. There's like a bit of like, you know, there's gang war a little bit in the background of it, but it's really centers on the story of these children, and it goes on through Crompton Nights. And there's a few more in the series. Alex is a brilliant author, and if there are any teachers listening here and you want to get an author into your schools, this is for secondary schools, but to inspire teenagers to read, when you meet Alex in real life, he's such an interesting person. Even the most cynical teenager would want to read this book, because Alex is a very intriguing person. He's actually even been to prison. So
Wow.
and actually that's where he started getting into reading. So he's like legitimately, he's so cool, and he's such a great writer. He's dialogue.
Libraries, another reason why libraries are so crucial, it's statutory for prisons to have a library, and it's not for schools, and this has to change. Has
to change.
I have a friend who's a probation officer, and she works in a really high security prison, and the reading is just crucial for prisoners. And I think if you often there is a link between people who can't read and crime, and I think if we can get children hooked into books and reading, then, you know, it just really would solve so many of the world's problems.
I mean, it might sound crazy, I mean, we're probably in agreement on this. I actually think it would solve almost all the problems. The problems of like of, you know, how can you be a bully if you read Wonder?
Absolutely.
That's your empathy. If you really read a book and fall into a book, then your empathy levels, that's been proved with the Empathy Project and all the research around that, your empathy levels do increase. Step into someone's shoes and you
just transform the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So absolutely. Oh, that's brilliant. So Alex, I'm sorry, I missed his surname.
Wheatle. Oh, he's just he's one. I'm a very big fan. He actually won with his next book, Crompton Nights, as the second in the series. He won the Guardian Children's Fiction Prize, and he's as they've now stopped that prize, he's the last ever winner of that prize for now. Maybe they'll bring it back again. Very worthy winner.
I wanted to ask you about prizes, because you've been involved in a few, haven't you? How do you find it? Because obviously there are so many really wonderful books, and I recommend, when parents ask me for recommendations, I will sometimes say to them, go and have a look at the short list for prizes, because they're all of really high quality. Exactly. How do you then go on to choose a winner?
Well, it wouldn't just be down to me. Sadly, I don't have the power just to go, that one wins. It's always like a big, you know, there'll be a whole load of readers and sifters who will be, you know, BookTrust have like loads of people who read for us and sift for us, who are teachers, librarians, early years experts, and, you know, many other people, and our own expertise. So we'll read. So we'll call out to publishers to enter for awards, and say we might get 150 submissions, you know, which would have been books published that year, you know, that would meet the prize criteria. Then we'll hone it down to a big long list, then a short list. And then there's various different ways for like the end part of the judging. For example, we run the Blue Peter Book Award, and that is judged by the last phase of it is actually judged by children in schools, but the shortlist is actually judged by but experts who do all that reading. And what about the like the Carnegie and Kate Greenaway Prize, which I'm not involved in, apart from I'm one of the like a nominator for books. The librarians read every single book on the Kate Greenaway and Carnegie long list, and there are loads of books on every book that's submitted. Librarians are the ones to go for to really to get these amazing recommendations, because they just read everything. And that's why I love librarians, because I've got so much to talk to them about. But yeah, I think prize shortlist is a great way to go, because basically someone else has done the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
there's not going to be a bad book on there, is there?
No, exactly. Oh, check out the Storytime Prize shortlist. Yeah. I've said that already, but that is great for people with little ones.
So what about younger readers who are possibly a bit reluctant, who might be struggling to either pick up a book or don't have the confidence to think I can be a reader too?
What age are you talking about, Catherine?
Well, I guess maybe I'm thinking, as a teacher, you have the classic stereotypical Year 5 boy, so a 10-year-old boy who's more into football. And
yeah, I would say the best thing is to try and find books which are, say someone's into football, well, there actually are great football books. Do some help. You know, some people don't want to go and browse, because if you literally got no interest in books and think books are really boring, you might not even want to go and browse, because you're just like, why would you? You think you're not going to find anything. So I think books on the things that they love, and you can always find, if you actually BookTrust have lots of book lists for reluctant readers. You know, there are loads of great football books, so you might find a way in there. But I think also I think reading aloud to children who don't like reading. Sometimes people don't like reading because they actually find it quite difficult, and it's quite hard work and quite pleasant to have to read to yourself. And I think that reading aloud to children and carrying on reading to them, and ideally, if in school, if there could be story time, every day would be ideal. So you can realise
everything as well, because the most difficult classes that I've taught, there could be carnage going on. That 15 minutes when you read to them is sometimes the only time when the class settles and is peaceful, and all children love being read to.
Yeah. And if you're read to, and audiobooks as well, actually. Audiobooks are brilliant for people that don't want to read to themselves. And it's just the same hearing the book as reading it yourself. You'll get the same benefits.
Absolutely. And Audible have been fantastic as well by making their children's books free at the moment. My daughter's been reading and listening to Harry Potter, and she's just last night, we went to sleep in the tent listening to the last chapter of the last book of Harry Potter. It was very, very special. So you tweeted yesterday, you've got one Harry Potter. Which one is it?
I know it's crazy, but I'll have to go for the first one. I will. I'll go for the first one. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, because I love that first book so incredibly much. And I'm always so annoyed, because when I was at The Guardian, I worked for the Guardian education section, we got a proof, and I remember that we did, of that first book before it came out. And I don't know where it went. I think I just whacked it into the recycling. That would be I could be retired now, just reading only. And so I think the first one is just so charming to me, and all that under the stairs stuff, and all that, I actually love the stuff. And then when he gets to go to Hogwarts the first time, and all the stuff on the train. I mean, for me, I love the first one. I mean, I also think the Harry Potter books have got a difficulty, is that if you read them at the time they were published, you grew up with Harry, that's fine. If you're reading them later, those later books don't really feel quite right for a 9-year-old, They're scary and they're hard, and actually you need to wait. I think you can read the first 3, and then you should probably wait a bit to read the ones. But you want to carry on with the story, but they're not really.
absolutely have that conversation at the moment because my youngest is 8, who's just read them all. And yeah. But she's got a big brother who was completely obsessed with Harry Potter, and she wants to be part of the gang. So she's desperate to watch the films, and she's terrified of all sorts of things. But because she's read the books, she knows the story, she can actually cope with those films really well. So I know it's really naughty, but we're going to let her watch the last film tonight.
I don't think it's naughty. I think it's fine. I'm not into censorship at all, though, but I just think if you want to read it, you should read it. And even though I laugh about myself reading Virginia Andrews and Stephen King, you know, I am okay after that experience.
Yeah. You haven't got any children locked in your attic. Oh, well, thank you so much, Emily. It has been an absolute joy speaking to you. And thank you for the recommendations. I'll write them all down and put them on the Facebook group for people who missed it. Come and watch again. Or if you are watching again, thank you for coming. So today, in 1 hour's time, Rob Biddulph is doing the world's largest, record-breaking attempt for the world's largest art lesson. So go and where is that advertised through your website, through the BookTrust?
Yeah, when I finish this, I'm going to tweet about it. But we do have it. We've been doing it on social media. You could just Google Rob Biddulph art lesson record breaker. It comes up.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see you there, because I'm definitely going to go and do that. That's going to be brilliant. I'll share your BookTrust website in my Facebook group. Come and join me in my group, Bringing Up Book Lovers. There's lots of really supportive chat in there from parents who are in the same boat, just not sure about books recommending for their child's next book. And Emily Drabble, what a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. It's lovely to meet you all.
Goodbye.